DeSanto Propane is 4 generations strong as a trustworthy, family-owned business with unmatched customer service. Go online at DeSantoPropane.com for more info or call toll-free at 1-800-752-4574 today. Since 1937, the difference has been DeSanto Propane.
Well, everybody, welcome into Bills Weekly here on FingerLakes1.com. Paul Russo and Jim Sinicropi here with you this week. Another Victory Monday in the books for the Bills, but more importantly, they know what their future is for the playoffs after, I feel like winning is an understatement against that Jets team yesterday. Securing the 2 seed for the postseason, home field through the AFC Championship game. Always good to know what your future lies ahead with. So we'll get into all that and a little bit more. But first, thank a couple more of our sponsors here at FingerLakes1.com, including GoNetSpeed. The future of connection is here, and it's fiber made for how we live and work today. GoNetSpeed fiber is faster and stronger than anything out there. You can check availability in your area, as well as plans and pricing at GoNetSpeed.com and get ready for fast and reliable fiber internet straight to your home. And Auburn Auto Group. Comes to selection and service after the sale. Auburn Auto Group has been the premier destination for new and used car buyers for close to 40 years. And the brands offered on Route 5 in Auburn include Chevrolet, GMC, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, Honda, Toyota, and Subaru. Thanks to a wide range of makes and models, you're sure to find your new or used car at Auburn Auto Group. Saw a lot of those cars with that Auburn Auto Group branding out and about over the weekend, so that was good to see.
Yeah, you were up at the Dome?
Yeah, I was.
For some basketball?
Yeah, I was. I enjoyed the torment at this point with that. But
you were one of, what, about 200, 400 people there?
I would say it was actually pushing, for sure, 10, actually. Surprisingly against Bucknell. But more importantly, speaking of torment, the Bills tormented the Jets yesterday, which was good to see.
Yeah, screw the Jets.
Because the thing that we talked a ton about here leading into this game, right, was the fact that this Jets team, even though the Bills have gotten wins against them, let's not act as if it's just been loss after loss after loss against the Jets the past few years. For whatever reason, they just appear to be the team that has given this Bills team in this era probably the most grief. And, you know, outside of maybe about 10 seconds yesterday, that just wasn't the case. It was the Bills pretty much in control the whole time. Defense really was kind of the stalwart there, which led to pretty much obviously all the scoring and everything.
They could have shut them out if they wanted to.
Yeah,
right?
That's the thing where it's just like, I know that it says Jets 14 in this, right? But really, to be fair, it was kind of like one of those things where I know you mentioned Syracuse, Jim. It's a lot like, to me, that final touchdown Washington State had at the end of the bowl game Friday night against Syracuse, where it's like, yeah, it was just kind of garbage time type stuff.
Garbage time.
But
there's a lot of blowouts in the NFL yesterday for in games like this that one team had their season over, with the exception being the Giants beating the Colts. But, screw the Jets. You know, what a joke franchise. It was great to see them get crushed. Yeah. But now we're in this like void of time where nothing matters for the Bills for the next, 2 weeks. Mm-hmm. They're going to sit their starters, probably. Josh Allen might hurt his MVP chances if by sitting, but that's not what the main goal is. So it's just kind of like we're kind of like on pause now until the playoffs start.
Yeah, and I mean, they aren't going to be the only team. That's what you mentioned. I know I already saw the Chiefs announce that Wentz is starting for them. So I would imagine the Bills will, at the very least, probably rest everybody to some degree Sunday. We'll probably get more.
The Ravens probably won't, right?
No, right, because that division is still up for grabs.
Yeah.
So, really, I think in the AFC, it's really only the Chiefs and Bills that can afford to do that, right? I think, do rest.
Well, I think the Texans have won their division.
Oh, right, yeah.
But I don't know if they can affect their seed at all by winning or losing. But they won the AFC South.
Yeah.
So they're locked in. The Chiefs are locked in at 1. The Bills are locked in at 2. The Ravens have the inside track on 3 seed. Then you got Steelers, Chargers, Texans, and then you got Broncos, Bengals, Dolphins for the last spot.
Yeah.
And boy, the Broncos. That was unfortunate for them. What day do they even play? Saturday? Yeah, Saturday night against the Bengals.
Yeah.
I mean, fortunate for the Bengals, unfortunate for the Broncos. But, like you say, the Bills are just sitting here now, just waiting for the playoffs to begin. Yeah. And they're going to have a tough first-round matchup probably. It could be the Bengals.
Yeah. Yeah, I know I saw somebody kind of like, they're like, would the Bills want to drop to the 3 seed, you think? I'm like, God, I don't like playing with semantics like that. Yeah. Matchup-wise, I'm sure, maybe it would, but, I mean, just the way the AFC is right now, with everybody still kind of trying to figure some seeding out stuff anyway, I would just try and grab as much home field as I can if you're not going to get the bye and move on, essentially.
Yeah, I don't like playing games with seedings and stuff. Just try to win, and where it all falls, it falls. I don't know. I feel like things change so much in the NFL. Let's look at the NFC, for example. If you went back a month ago, Detroit, they were handing them the NFC Championship, right? Nobody could beat Detroit. Now they might be a 5 seed,
Well, I mean, that's, not to go too much down a non-Bills path here, right? But I mean, Sunday Night Football next week, because they finally have everything locked in, is, Minnesota, Detroit, and that's for the division. So that speaks volumes right there, exactly to what you're talking about. And I know Detroit, we're here 10 a.m. on Monday. Detroit plays tonight on Monday Night Football to wrap up the week. So, I mean, it's just one of those things where, nothing is exactly as set in stone as you may think in this league.
Yeah, but you got to feel good if you're the Bills. You've won 10 of your last 11. The only game you lost was by 2 points in a 44-42 loss to the Rams. You got to feel pretty good. You just didn't get that home field, so you're going to have to go again to Kansas City for an AFC Championship game and have all those things against you, including probably the referees. And it's not gonna, and you're not gonna be gifted the opportunity to get there either. You're gonna have 2 tough games. You might have to play the Ravens, who kicked our butt back in September 29th.
Yeah.
So
as of right now, the Bills and Chiefs are the only 2 teams technically locked in. Well, yes, Bills, Chiefs, and then the Texans are the teams locked into whatever seed they are locked.
So the Texans are locked into their seed.
They're locked into the 4. The AFC North is up for grabs. That will be determined Saturday. That division has those 2 Saturday games coming up. So the winner of that will get the 3 seed between the Ravens, who control the destiny, as opposed to the Steelers.
NFL reseeds too after each round, right? It's not like a bracket.
I can't remember. Let me double check, because I can pull up the bracket here in a second. And then the Chargers have clinched a spot. And then obviously the wild card between the Ravens and the Steelers have clinched as well. So
Broncos, Bengals, Dolphins.
Yeah, and then you have that mess of fighting for
one of those 3 teams.
7.
Yep.
Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, AFC wise, excuse me, you're only probably going to see 3 teams do any sort of resting period, I would imagine. And obviously, for sure, I that's a tough part, right? And, maybe we can jump a little bit more into this now. I know we talked a little bit about last week, how much or how little will we see Josh Allen and, frankly, the rest of the starters on both sides of the ball, right, play on Sunday?
I'd say 0. I don't want to see him at all. Let's take, the Chiefs already got a bye week in the first round of the playoffs, so why don't we take advantage of this as a bye week as well? And then also, you get some other guys into game situations and evaluate them and maybe give them a little experience. You never know who you're going to need coming up for this playoff run.
Yeah. There is one starter I think we might see for sure play for the Bills, and that would be James Cook.
How come?
Could get his 16th rushing touchdown of the season, which would be the Bills would tie the Bills all-time record with him.
Yeah, I don't like it. I don't like it.
He's the only one I could see.
Yeah. Well, Tyler Bass.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
that's a little bit different, to be fair.
It is, but I don't like going for personal stats or records in a meaningless game. It's just inviting disaster. This whole thing is about winning the Super Bowl for the Bills. The whole deal. Nothing. Nobody cares about personal records or MVP. You know, I guess some people do care about if Josh Allen gets MVP. Who cares? The only thing that's going to matter is if the Bills win the Super Bowl or not. And if they don't, or if they don't get there, then the season's a disappointment. I mean, if they get to the Super Bowl and lose, that's really hard for the Bills fan base to take, given the long history. But most of those people that were football fans in the mid-'90s, like myself, are old. So there's a whole half of the Bills fan base that doesn't even remember that. So getting to the Super Bowl, I think, would be a successful season, even if they lost in the Super Bowl, especially for the younger Bills fans. But losing in Kansas City, and falling short or getting upset, that just ruins what was a great regular season. But, here we are. Yeah. Let's see what happens.
Speaking of, there was one other record matched yesterday for the Bills. Kind of fitting you mentioned the 90s, Jim, because that would be Josh Allen, his 65th career rushing touchdown, matching the team record held by Thurman Thomas. So
it's funny. If you went back then and said that record would be beaten by a quarterback, if in that era back there where, quarterbacks generally didn't run that much, except unless you were Randall Cunningham. Yeah, it's kind of crazy how the game's changed.
Yeah, it's interesting, and that's one of those records where going back to kind of what we said, that one's the one where I don't think they would trot Josh Allen out just to
beat Thurman Thomas's record, right?
Because that one is one that he could get week 1 next year.
Yeah, I mean it's inevitable, but
yeah, the single season mark I mentioned, OJ, that was a 14-game season in 1975, by the way. It got 16 in 14 games. So
juice was loose.
Yeah.
So
not to chuckle anytime I still hear that line.
James Cook has more rushing touchdowns than anybody in the NFL right now.
Yep.
That's something to hang your hand on.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it last week, how last year this momentum behind him kind of started to build up. Kind of has his nationally breakout year this year of sorts. It was a nice little breakout kind of day for some players yesterday. We finally got to see, I was about to say, we finally got to see Cooper get unlocked a little bit. Kind of thought he might have really dinged himself up for a second there. But I don't know if he was just kind of laying there to catch his breath for a second, because he did land pretty hard on his back. And then a bit twofold for you, I'll double dip into a couple different podcasts here for us, Jim. Keon Coleman even visited the end zone yesterday as well.
Yeah, keeping my season-long player prop alive. He needs one more, but Jalen, I'm not going to get it because Jalen Wild. People that don't watch our betting pod, they have no idea what I'm talking about.
Yeah, but I figured I'd mention a little bit of a double dip there. Just kind of good to see a couple different guys who, Coleman we've talked a ton about. Cooper we've talked a ton about for kind of the wrong reasons of sorts recently. Just for the sake of what ended up being at least the final meaningful regular season game of the year, kind of good to see a couple different guys get unlocked a little bit, kind of get everything kind of flowing a little bit. Speaking of that, one record I forgot to mention that I should have was the Bills are now tied for the NFL record on a single season for most amount of players with a receiving touchdown. The final one yesterday was the 13th different player to have a receiving touchdown.
One of those players was Josh Allen.
Correct. And that was Tyrell Shavers, 69-yard pass from Mitch Trubisky. But tied to 13th, it ties the NFL record for most different receiving touchdowns by a single player.
They
this
could
season.
beat that next week. That would be something
Sure.
to play for the backups because there's a good chance that somebody will maybe be a new touchdown scorer.
Well, I said the best way or the funniest way to break it would be doing the get one of those backup offensive linemen in there and just do it that way.
Tight end eligible.
I mean,
or-
hey, look, you already have Josh Allen in there with a receiving touchdown. Why not get, even then, mess around with it. Let them know that you're actually going to do it. Have Deion Dawkins back there as fullback for one play and just, have some fun in week 18. Why not?
So, did they announce a game time for that week 18
Yep.
game yet?
1 p.m.
Okay, good. Get it over with. Let's get on to the playoffs. This is nothing good can happen in this game. Who cares if they win or lose? I guess you want to win so you can be 14-3 to end your regular season, but 13-4, what's the difference, right? This means nothing.
Yeah.
It's
It's a different type of get right game, right? Like normally when we say get right game in sports, it means you're a team and you're playing some sort of slack, somebody who's clearly worse than you. Not saying that this isn't clearly the case. They're potentially in this situation, but this is you can treat it as if it's a bye week of sort for your starters, right? Get some of these guys healthier and get ready for, the second season in January.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah.
1 p.m. on Sunday in New England. And it's pretty telling how I think, nothing's official yet, obviously. But, you look at the lines already. This game opened at -2, Bills being a favorite, 2-point favorite. The line has actually shifted to 2.5 at the moment. I mean, that's a big kind of nothing.
What does New England have to play for? I mean, a lot of these teams are now playing for draft positions.
Well, I was about to say, if you're New England, too, in this scenario, not to say that you are going to outright tank a game.
Yeah.
You're in control of the number 1 pick right now.
They don't need a quarterback.
Do you want
Travis Hunter they take probably.
Well, I don't know. If you're New England, what do you do? That's an interesting one. But either way, that's a different podcast for a different time.
Right. The Giants needed a quarterback, and but they're not going to pick.
So did the Raiders, and the Raiders won.
Yeah, right. It's crazy.
And that's how New England's in the spot. I mean, maybe for New England, right, you're maybe thinking a little bit even beyond that, where it's like, if we even retain the first overall pick, you can trade out for more assets or anything like that. But, yeah, I mean, if you're New England, right, you aren't necessarily playing for anything outside of draft position at this point.
Which you would want to lose.
Yeah, so.
Which is a problem.
Yeah.
In the NFL, I think. But, I think that for the most part, these teams come out and the players try to win. Just look at the Giants yesterday against the Colts.
I mean, Dable even said it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, it's tough to go out and play a football game and not try to win it.
Mm-hmm.
And I purposely try to lose it.
Well, and the main thing is, too, right, if you're one of these players, and that's one of the things, I forget who brought it up, but, like, this was a while ago, they were talking about how, like, for a lot of these guys, I mean, why would you go out there and hurt your worth by showing that you're just a loser all the time?
Yeah, right.
You want to go out there and
be the kind of guy that, would be willing to go out there in front of your home fans or whatever and tank it.
Yeah. So, hey, who knows what we'll see. I know Patriots haven't been pesky-ish enough for the most part this season to
every now and then
kind
they
of
would
put a thorn in the side of some teams, but
what's the point? What are we going to do? A prediction for this game? I mean, who knows?
Well,
I predict Mitch Trubisky will throw for 3 touchdown passes, and the Bills will win 24-16.
Well, that's what I was about to say. I don't know how you can necessarily give a prediction on this game outside of what you can more expect out of New England than Buffalo, only because if you're New England, right, even if you are going for, we'll call it what it is, right? Even if you are going for the loss, if you're New England, you're still playing Drake May. You aren't going to sit your rookie quarterback.
Yeah, nobody's sitting there. Yeah,
right. You're allowed to give him reps. Not a knock on the guy, but like, who do they have behind Ramondre Stevenson anyway that you could swap out as a equal or below? I just kind of see it as, and we mentioned other guys too, like Jerron Mayo is in this weird space of media saying one thing, ownership
fired,
saying
might
another
not get
thing.
fired.
Right. Yeah. And like, it's not like he's not going to go out there and not, coach for his job essentially.
Well, with maybe the ownership wants him to lose, but he wants to win. Like maybe even by winning it would make it worse. But who cares about the stupid Patriots? What's the over under?
Yeah, the over-under is...
I'm going to guess 42.
You're actually... you're close. It opened at 41.5, but it's down to 40.5.
Oh, it's going even lower. Yeah, because they figure it's going to be scrub time and not a lot of offense.
Yeah. I mean...
Trubisky looked good yesterday.
Yeah.
Like, worst case scenario, I mean, you never see, I think Josh Allen would have to literally have his throwing arm, like, decapitated for him to not play or come out of a game, especially in the playoffs. But, you know, I think Trubisky is probably a better backup than average in the NFL.
Yeah. No, I mean, for sure. I mean, I have stock in Trubisky anyway that I'm unwilling to give up from back in the day. Not proud of it, but it is what it is. Yeah, I mean, and, you know, that kind of just goes back to whatever. Even if you just see the starters out there for a play, I mean, it doesn't. I don't think it really matters. I don't want to fully like
I don't want to see any starters out there for the first quarter, the first drive, whatever. Just don't want to see it.
Yeah.
You're inviting a disaster when you've already accomplished everything that you can accomplish so far in this regular season. You're not going to be able to get the 1 seed. You're not going to fall to the 3 seed. So just hang it up, relax, get healthy, come back strong, and win. What would it take for them to win the Super Bowl? 3 more games? 4 more games? 4 more football games. You've won 10 of your last 11. You just got to win 4 in a row.
Josh Allen, emergency third-string quarterback. That's a nice ring to it for Sunday, doesn't it?
Yeah, just in case they need him.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing. Like, you can only list so many people as inactive with the way the rosters are and everything. I personally think you're probably going to see more inactives actually on the defensive side, only because they've been more dinged up as the season's gone on. Obviously, guys are getting closer to returning if they have been out. And that's where, you know, really like what we've been saying. I think this is where this week kind of helps out more than anything else, is you just don't have to put guys in a spot where, say you were in a position like the Steelers or the Ravens where you are playing for something and it's like, well, if you're 80%, you know, we can shove you out there. Whereas, you know,
football, there's never been a football game played in the NFL where nobody gets hurt.
Exactly.
You know, like just by playing, you're going to get dinged up. You might have a serious injury. You might have a minor injury, but this way, none of the Bills starters are going to have any injuries. They're only going to improve and get healthier. So it's a blessing. Yeah. And now let's, you know, if you're Bills fans, like diehard fans might want to watch this New England game and just see some of the other guys on the roster or whatever. But, you know, just take a week off and get ready for the playoffs. You know, when you know, we're about a week and a half away from actual playoff football?
Yeah, I mean, pretty much 2 weeks, but yeah, you know.
I mean, we'll sit back, find out who we play. You know, personally, if you want to root for anything, I think you'd rather play the Broncos than the Bengals or the Dolphins.
Yeah, I mean,
I feel good. I feel like the Bills can beat, without worry, Steelers, Chargers, Broncos, Dolphins.
Yeah,
I worry about the Ravens, the Texans, and the Bengals.
I was going to say, the Chargers are the team I think if I'm the Bills I'd want to see. Only because I hate fully going into it, but you got a team coming west, also in conditions that they may not be used to.
And, of course, the Dolphins, if they happen to sneak in, we'll play them, right?
Yeah. And, I mean, the Dolphins at that point, tough to beat a team 3 times in a year, but if there was probably a team you could do it with, no problem this year, it might be the Dolphins.
Especially up north in the cold. And then the Broncos might be tough, but they got a rookie quarterback, or Bo Nix playing in his first playoff game against a more seasoned quarterback, obviously, in Josh Allen. And the Bills have the advantage of being home. The Bills have an advantage of being home if they play the Ravens.
Yeah, for sure.
And then, you know, all things go well, it's off to Kansas City for AFC Championship game. And I'm not too concerned about that being a road game. I think we've seen the Bills battle on the road in big games like that. And obviously it would be an advantage to be at home. But I don't think it's an unwinnable game by any stretch of the imagination. And at some point, you know, your luck runs out if you're Kansas City, right?
Yeah, I mean, we've been saying it for a while that, you know, the numbers, everything regresses to the mean eventually of what you are. You know, I just can't believe that they keep getting away with these 1-score games.
Yeah.
Or anything else. So hey, either way.
But we'll be back next week we'll know.
Yeah.
We'll know who they play. We'll know when it is, and it'll be a great show next week. Kyle will be back.
There's a possibility that they'll know kind of going into the game anyway, just the way the AFC North plays on Saturday. I mean, they still might not know, obviously, but the picture will be probably a bit more clearer about who they potentially have on deck.
But next week we'll have a true playoff game preview, a lot to talk about, where this week it's just like, okay, we killed the Jets.
Yeah.
Nobody's playing next week. We don't know who they play in the playoffs yet, but we know they're a 2 seed.
Yeah.
So it's just this weird time, after the holidays and everything, where this next week's going to be very boring.
Kind of purgatory-ish, right?
Yeah, it's the calm before the storm.
Yes, 100%. Yeah, and I mean that's the thing where it's we're kind of like you said, we're at the point where we're wrapping up already because there's just not. I mean, we could go into probably next week in this hypothetical sense of like, say the Bills are still playing for something. There's not a ton to talk about from that game yesterday. It was just it was an ass kicking. Like, what else could we like possibly bring up in preview?
Yeah, and who cares about New England next week? Like, it's just dumb. It doesn't matter. I'm glad it doesn't matter. It's just Bills fans, just rest up.
Yeah.
Keep your energy for what's coming. Keep your mental energy in check, because you're going to need it coming up in a couple weeks.
Yeah, and
who knows what could happen? I mean, who knows? Like, for Bills fans, they got a chance to win the Super Bowl, and that's just like unheard of for Bills fans. It's like I don't even know what would happen if the Bills won the Super Bowl. I think Western and Central New York, it would just be like the month of February in March would just be one big celebration.
This building is still a bomb shelter, right?
Yeah,
I think we have our answer for what we would do anyway.
We just hunker down.
Yeah. On that note, we will get out of here. So next Monday, like you said, Jim, 10 a.m. back at it. Playoff preview. We'll know at that point everything. So of what will be ahead for the playoffs. So looking forward to that. So make sure everybody likes, share, and subscribe. MaryLakes1.com YouTube channel, all major podcasting platforms, including Spotify and Amazon Music. Back at it again next week. Let's go, Buffalo.
FingerLakes1.com